Hey everyone, welcome to Integrated Medical Biochemistry with Dr. Bijoya. Biomarkers of alcohol abuse is today's topic. So, in order to find a suitable marker, first let us take an overview of organs that are affected due to alcoholism. So, the organs include liver, heart, pancreas, the digestion and absorption of certain important minerals and vitamins. It also affects the brain by increasing neuroinhibitory transmitter GABA, which lowers the person's movement and speech. There is neuroinflammation, neuronal damage, and it also may cause cancers to some patients. The cancers may include cancer of mouth, esophagus, throat, liver, and breast, to name a few. So, looking at all the systems that are affected, it is very important to find a suitable marker or have an idea of a suitable marker in order to confirm whether a person is alcoholic or not and then start with the suitable treatment. Ethanol is absorbed and metabolized and excreted from our body through various routes. First, let us look at the metabolism of ethanol, where there are two pathways, that is the oxidative metabolic pathway and the non-oxidative metabolic pathway. The oxidative metabolic pathway is 94 to 98%, which is carried out by the liver. The end product of this oxidative pathway is carbon dioxide and water, whereas the non-oxidative metabolic pathway, there is 1.1 to 2% of it. This is also carried out in the liver, and various products are formed here due to reaction of alcohol with various substrates such as ethyl glucuronide, ethyl sulfate, fatty acid, ethyl esters, and phosphatidyl ethanol. The excretion of ethanol is in traces via sweat. In urine, 1 to 3% is excreted, whereas in breath, 1 to 3% is excreted. Now, biomarker detectability includes products of oxidative pathway, products of tissue and organ damage, and products of non-oxidative pathway. So, the products of oxidative pathway generally will include ethanol and ethanol. Ethanol in urine, blood, and various biological fluids can be considered as good markers. The products of tissue and organ damage include hepatocellular enzymes, aspartate aminotransferase, and alanine aminotransferase, enzymes of bile canaliculi, gamma glutamyl transferase, and blood endice mean corpuscular volume. The mean corpuscular volume is an index of red blood cell size, increases with excessive alcohol intake after 4 to 8 weeks. Increased MCV due to macrocytosis in the presence of excess alcohol may occur even with normal folate levels. However, up to 30% of alcohol dependent patients have low folate level due to malnutrition or impaired absorption. So products of non-oxidative pathway, they include fatty acid, ethyl ester, phosphatidyl ethanol, ethyl glucuronide, and ethyl sulfate. And these also have the capacity to form good markers, and their enzymes are mentioned here. Now, the carbohydrate deficient transferrin protein is produced due to effect of alcohol on protein metabolism. CDT is defined as the acylo and dicylo forms of transferrin that usually account for less than 1.6% of the total transferrin found in plasma. Ethanol or its metabolites inhibit the enzyme responsible for addition of the carbohydrate side chains and induce sialidase enzyme that removes the terminal sialic acid residues from the side chain. So this is the transferrin polypeptide change which undergoes post-translational modifications uh, where certain carbohydrates are added, and in the end of each carbohydrate chain there is sialic acid added. Now because of excessive consumption of alcohol, this sialic acid may not be added or it may be removed by the enzyme sialidase because ethanol will interfere with their activity. So usually consumption of 50 to 60 grams of alcohol per day chronically for at least 2 to 3 weeks increases the CDT, and the half life of CDT is usually 14 to 17 days, and values return to normal within 3 to 4 weeks of abstinence. So let us look at the CDTs. So these are the first three, that is pentasialotransferrin, tetrasialotransferrin, and trisialotransferrin are considered normal. So you can see that this is the transferrin protein to which carbohydrates are attached, and to at the end of at the terminal position the sialic acid is attached. So when there are 5 sialic acid groups attached, it is pentasialotransferrin. When 4 are attached, it is tetrasialotransferrin, and when 3 are attached, it is trisilotransferrin. Less than 3 sialic acid groups are considered attached to transferrin are considered abnormal products, and they form the CDTs, and they include disilotransferrin, monocylotransferrin, and asilotransferrin, where there is no carbohydrate chain and there is no sialic acid group. So it is these that we are estimating as markers, and it is these that are formed during excessive consumption of alcohol. Now, this is a detailed comparison of all the potential markers, which include ethanol, which is oxidative uh, metabolite, ethanol glucuronide, phosphatidylethanol are metabolites of non-oxidative pathway, whereas GGT is a marker of organ damage, and MCV also. CDT is an end product of uh, defective protein metabolism. So these are the various markers. For ethanol, we can use serum or blood. For ETG, we can use urine, PETH whole blood. For gamma glutamyl transferase serum, and for MCV whole blood and CDT serum. Now, threshold positivity we'll see later. The maximum time of positivity after alcohol consumption, 12 hours. So it takes 12 hours for reaching the maximum time to be detected in blood, and it takes 78 to it remains in the circulation for 40 to 130 hours. PETH remains in the blood for 15 days. Gamma glutamyl transferase remains for 6 to 8 weeks in absence of liver damage, and MCV remains for 10 to 12 weeks, whereas CDT remains for 2 to 3 weeks. So these are the times. So if we need immediate record, then within 12 hours, if we do blood alcohol concentration, this will remain only for 12 hours, whereas these stay in the circulation for a longer period of time. Now, minimal alcohol amount required for positivity. So let us look at ethanol. One drink is enough to generate it. So it is quite sensitive. Um, in ETG also, a very small amount might result in short-term positive results. A PETH, gamma glutamyl transferase, MCV, and CDT need larger volumes of drink, which is more than 5 to 6 drinks per day for a certain period of time. Now, let us look at the technology that is used to detect these. So, for ethanol, we use enzymatic method. For ETG, we use gas chromatography or mass spectrophotometry. PETH, we use LCMS, that is liquid chromatography, mass spectrometry. Gamma GGT, we use enzymatic method. MCV, we calculate from hemogram. And for CDT, we use HPLC, immunometric capillary electrophoresis. So these are the methods that are used to detect these parameters. Now availability. So it is important to know how feasible they are. So let us see how easily these methods are available to detect these parameters. So availability for ethanol, there is wide availability, but for ETG, there is restriction to only specialized laboratory. For PETH also it is restricted, but gamma GT, MCV and CDT, the methods are easily available and widely available. So this is the brief comparison for you. You can look at the details below later at your convenience, and which shows that uh, most of these markers are pretty reliable and uh, good to detect alcoholism. Now let us look a little more in detail about the biochemical markers. That is, GGT returns to normal in 2 to 8 weeks, but it needs large volume of drinks, and it may have false positive value under certain under liver conditions also. It may increase. So it is not that specific, although it is very popular. AST and ALT are also not very accurate or specific tests, and there may be false positives because they rise in various other conditions. However, AST rises much more than ALT in condition of alcoholism, and also the ratio of AST to ALT is more than 2 in case of alcoholism. So this is also present in my previous lecture, and I'll show you the link in my description. Now MCV is the mean corpuscular volume, and it remains a parameter for a very long time, and all these parameters rise only after heavy drinking. Abnormal values are seen even after abstinence, and this is the disadvantage. Now let us look at CDT, that is it returns to normal in 2 to 4 weeks, and rare false positives are there, and it's a good indicator of relapse. So if a person begins drinking again also, it can be detected because it gradually rises when there is relapse. So this is one advantage of CDT. So a combination of biomarkers is always a good idea instead of relying on a single biomarker. So elevated serum GGT level remains the most widely used marker of alcohol abuse, whereas the combination of CDT and GGT is most frequently used. Now let us look at the application of these various biomarkers. We'll just consider one as of now because you already know that it indicates liver damage and heart cardiomyopathy and all that we have discussed. So let us look at the forensic implications of it. So alcoholic drinks may cause intoxication. Intoxication may lead, if the person is driving while driving and drinking, it may lead to accidents. So and in that case his samples may be collected and sent for forensic analysis, because it becomes a medico legal case. And the method for it is gas chromatography, high sensitivity gas chromatography for blood alcohol above limit. So this is the application. Now just let us take a view of that. Now let us look at the behavioral effects and tolerance level. So legal intoxication with alcohol in most states requires a blood alcohol concentration, or BAC, of 0.08 grams per deciliter, while levels of 0.04 or even lower are cited in other countries. In India, the level of legal intoxication is 0.15 grams per deciliter. Now let us look at the effects of blood alcohol levels, or BAC, in the absence of tolerance. So those people who are not who do not have tolerance for alcohol will show certain changes in their behavior, which is noticeable uh, as the level of concentration in blood rises. So in India, it is 0.10 to 0.15, where it is considered that the person is under influence. However, this level is permitted. It is now below this level, that is 0.03 to 0.1. The person does not have much noticeable effect, or there may be slight impairment or selective impairment. However, in concentrations higher than 0.15, the person gets drunk, very drunk, or he may get stupor to coma and comatose to death. Now, blood alcohol concentration measurement, the gold standard method is gas liquid chromatography with flame ionization detector. Although some laboratories also use mass spectrometric detector. So these are the best and the most reliable methods. Now, what is a breathalyzer? So sometimes in blood, from blood, the alcohol disappears very quickly because it is metabolized. So instead of taking blood sample, we may also take urine and breath sample. So for breath analysis, we need a breath analyzer, which is known as breathalyzer. It is a device for estimating blood alcohol content from a breath sample. So from the breath, we can, it is proportional to the concentration in the blood. And what exactly is the reaction mechanism? Ethanol plus dichromate, which is an acid and it is orange in color. After reacting with ethanol, it becomes oxidized, and this oxidized chromium is green in color. So if it is in this field, this it is a semi-quantitative test and it can be easily used. And when breath contains alcohol is exhaled into the blue end of the device, it reacts with the dichromate. More green means a higher BAC. So more the green color, the person is intoxicated and he is not supposed to drive. And by if there is any accident, that means it is a case of drunk and driving case. So I hope you liked what I said. So for more videos, like, share and subscribe to my channel. Don't forget to hit the bell icon. Thank you.